Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, aka the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week is a pretty monumental episode. This is episode 100. And we're back in the basement, and we're back with the original crew. And now we have a whole audience. So it's a little different. It's a good thing we're not really trying to pack everyone in down here anymore. But I can't believe it's number 100 already. Seems like we just started it. So I do have a bottle of champagne for us to open and get after it.
All right.
Oh! Rejected.
Uh-oh, there's someone's phone.
Yep,
It is.
that's mine.
Just spray Dre in the face.
Dude, stop.
All right, Dre's gonna reek like Shane.
Oh, do you want some?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what Dre lives for.
No, I think you said it was going
You
to
want
go
some?
right over the top. I feel like it didn't.
I mean, we didn't get Jaime, so that's a
It
win.
almost got Jaime though.
It
It
did
wanted
hit.
to.
If that
The
took
Raptor.
down a camera,
Just hit it right in the lens.
off to a good start.
It was pretty crazy. Monday, I actually had to come down here and start cleaning the basement to get it ready for this. And it was crazy just sitting down here and like remembering what this looked like on episode 100. We were working in here. We were in here all day, every day. The concept of time wasn't real. It was, we would start whenever we wanted. We would work till midnight. We lived in here. And I sat down here Monday for a while, and it was just like, I think I sent pictures to all you guys. I'm like, today Lauren sent us videos of us trying to figure out how to run episode 1, that we thought that it had to have this like crazy high level of perfection, that it had to be perfect. And we're like, what if the dogs bark? Like, what if the cameras
And
aren't
they
perfect? Yeah. And it's like we would put someone upstairs to sit upstairs every episode. And I'm like, I look at now at 100, we're like, we don't really care what happens. Like, people are listening for the context of what the podcast is.
And also, it turns out it wasn't perfect, even though we
Yeah.
really thought it was going to be.
And it's more awkward if you don't just acknowledge the imperfections.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were already making fun of me for the terrible intro in the early podcast, that it was the amount that we put into it to get to where we thought we started, that we thought we had it. There used to be a TV on wheels up front with all of our questions that we had for every podcast. And it was funny that we thought we had the whole thing just figured out. And now after 100 episodes, we look back and we're like, wow, how far we've come. And I look at what another 100 episodes where we're going to be at, and the people that listen now, and it's crazy. We were going over stats before this started. That Lauren, we went over a lot of numbers. Really fast. I said I wasn't going to remember them all, but how many podcasts are out there?
Let me look.
Was it 3.2 million?
3.2 million podcasts out there. And then only 44% of those podcasts have less than 3 episodes. Only 720,000 podcasts have more than 10 episodes. And of those 720,000 podcasts, only 156,000 are releasing a weekly episode.
And I think the consistency side, we have posted an episode every single week for 100 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We have not missed one. And
That alone has been a pain that I think a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
it's funny how many people want to start a podcast, and it's oh yeah, that'll be easy. I can just do this and this. I was that person. I was like, oh yeah, this would be easy. Let's just start a podcast. And it was so much work.
I think you said that, and then you're like, Ricky, we need to figure out audio.
There's also a big difference though between like starting a podcast and starting a podcast that also has high quality audio, video, multiple angles. Like there's different levels to it, just like anything.
Yeah, and I wanted a podcast that was something that was at that top level. It's the gold standard that I've wanted to run as a marketing agency. I've wanted to run everything. That's how I've been my whole life. towards like when we started a podcast, I'm like, I thought our first episode, I'm like, we did it. We did it. And I look back, I'm like, well, we started something. And it's, I don't know, it's cool the people that we've met, the doors that it's opened,
Definitely.
and the stories that we've heard.
Yeah.
That there's so many people have been on that have opened up to life, to things that have happened. And I think just that evolution that I'll say Dalton as like probably the one person sitting up here that when this podcast started, Dalton was a quiet person. Dalton wasn't the
I
first
think I'm
one.
still pretty quiet.
Dude,
Isn't that right,
I'm telling you, when we get on Square One calls now, we get on the podcast, Dalton is someone that opens up and will talk. And like today, we come up with like, we're going to do live Whiskey Wednesday. Dalton, like, I love that idea. If I would have said that at episode 1 of the podcast, you'd be like, hell no, bro.
Yeah, probably not.
He's drank a lot more whiskey in the last 2 years. He's more knowledgeable.
I think I've actually slowed down a little bit, but
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we were in the basement, we did drink a little bit too much. But it was just like, there was no break from work to hanging out. That's all we did was hang out and work, hang out and work, hang out and work. Then we didn't know what work schedule was to hanging out. And it would be noon and somebody'd be playing COD and working on something. But then it'd be 9 o'clock at night. Someone's playing COD. Somebody's working on something. So it's like we would be at the gym at. I know that Ricky and Lauren, when we first met you guys were like, "What do these people do?" And it was.
I mean, we were there till
Dude.
10:30, 11.
Sometimes you guys
And then
didn't
you would
roll
go to
in.
lunch.
You didn't even roll in till like 10. And then, by the time you left, you guys were getting lunch. And
Yeah.
I was very confused, to say the least.
No,
He's like, "These dudes are doing it right."
I don't know what they're doing, but it looks more fun than what I'm doing.
Joke's on you guys. We work all the time now. No, but so I think MMG has evolved, but I think it's something that has evolved in so many different aspects. And I think the podcast is a huge thing that has helped drive that. In one, making us all more confident in the way that we carry ourselves, being on camera all the time. That starting the podcast was probably one of the most fearful things I've ever done. That when we started, that is something up till the episode 1, you did not find a video of me out there. I wasn't on video. That's not something I did. There was pictures of us, but like I did not talk on video. I was not confident on video. And people were like, "Oh, you have confidence." Like I was terrified of a camera. And I remember that first episode. I was like, "I'm gonna have like 4 or 5 drinks before we start this." Like,
Yep.
and it was like, it was just something I didn't know how it went. And we had all these, like, listen to the first ones, there was all these awkward silence moments.
Staring
Like-
at you.
Yeah.
We're like-
Everyone would stop and they'd be like,
So I think
What's
if you
next?
watch it back, I think we edited it so it's a little shorter, but it does feel awkward. You can tell something ended and started again.
and the funny thing was, like, I hit episode 1, I'm like, it was like the biggest weight off my shoulders. And then it airs and I say I got home. Now, I was at home all the time. So
You were still home.
I was still home. So the next day, I'm sitting there, and I go up and I'm sitting in Madison's office and I'm talking to her, and she has this piece of paper with all things I need to do different on the podcast. I'm like, wow.
Which, to be fair, all rightfully so.
Yeah.
Which at that point, I still am very much. I'll hear it over time, but at that point, I'm like, you know what? Your podcast is great. I'm like, I'm all defensive about it. I was like, is she serious right now? And I'm like, later I'm looking at it. I'm like,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
okay, that kind of makes sense. I'm like, is the intro really that bad? And I go listen. I'm like, oh, I was like, let me find like 5 other podcasts to listen to. I'm like,
Did we do
Those-
the first intro?
It was
Is that
Dane.
what? I don't know what
Yeah.
this we shit is,
Yeah,
bud.
it was Dane.
It was
bro.
just
Not
Dane.
doing it.
Okay.
You know,
I did it.
I,
We.
I think right here for people listening,
Yeah,
we'll plug
let's play it.
Okay.
so you can see it in
Yeah.
Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, aka the M3 Podcast, brought to you by Moss Marketing Group. The M3 Podcast bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Marketing tips and tricks you can use today. Here at the M3 Podcast, we want to expand marketing knowledge to everyone so everyone can be more successful.
Dane's like, thanks,
Yeah.
man.
Great.
Thanks. His face is
live
getting
that.
red by the
but that
minute.
shows from where
Taking
we
a-
started to where we are. I think
Taking a
it's something
stroll
where
during light.
Dane said he wanted to start a podcast, and I think it was Friday because what did we launch it? Monday?
No,
think
this
No, it was
it was
we
it was
did it on a
in,
Thursday
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we went to the
There's-
movies before that.
Don't remember it's like 2 of the day.
We did. It
We
was
went and saw
snowing.
Uncharted.
Yeah.
It was snowing. Yeah.
Uncharted.
We went to the
Uncharted
movies.
was surprisingly good.
Just a
It
big
was
group
really
movie
good.
Came
set.
back and did a podcast. Yeah.
Forgot
But
about
he
that.
It was
talked
snowing
about
that day.
launching a podcast, and it came down to the wire, and nothing was even set up. I think we spent almost 2 full days building the podcast, and then the day of, it's like, I think everyone's like, so what are we going over? Dane's like, we're going to figure it out. And we launched into it. Was it the best first episode? No. But it was a starting point to build on. And I think we built it to 100 episodes later. Like you guys said earlier, people actually listen for what's on here now, which is something that was crazy that people are actually listening.
The fact that people listen to the first episode, like, it almost kind of like, I almost want to like put a disclaimer out there, like, hey, if you're gonna listen to M3 podcast, don't start episode 1. Start where we're at now.
Actually, working your way backwards.
Yeah, go backwards, because it was like that first episode still has a lot of views,
Lauren's looking.
and
I want to see how many views the first one has.
I'm sorry for the 500 something people that have watched that on YouTube.
506.
God.
Tell me Dane's not watching that number every day.
I keep track of that.
It's him watching it every day.
Yeah, 100 weeks in a row I put down that. Still climbing. But it's at that point, like, we were watching videos today of us trying to figure out the audio. We're all like, test. And we're like, literally like touching mic. We have no idea how it works.
Yeah.
And then as we like progress on, we actually learned how to carry conversations in a different manner. And it was funny when we would. Are you playing?
Sorry, I
Yeah, we're
clicked
gonna
it.
watch.
I accidentally
We're gonna
clicked
watch an episode over here.
Get another view.
But it was, I don't know. I think it was just that there was a shift at some point
Yeah.
that it became. I would talk to people about the podcast and like, yeah, I listen to your podcast. The first 30 minutes kind of suck. The second 30 minutes way better. I'm like, I start like after I heard it multiple times, I'm like, oh, the second 30 minutes is like when our questions are gone off the TV. And then
How is that better? We ran out of questions.
I'm like, we're freestyling it. The
You
second,
didn't like the scripted part?
yeah, you didn't like the first 30 minutes where we just grilled people and played 20 questions.
And I think what a lot of people don't understand is we all had assigned questions
Yeah.
that no one really saw on the TV, and we were like,
Put our
We
initials,
had our
next
initials
to them.
next to him.
we
yeah.
put our initials, and then there was like 6 questions for some reason we thought was going to last an hour.
I don't know where we came up. Who
then
came
it's-
up
We
with
did-
that
we didn't
number?
even have
Then
chat-
somebody asks your question, you're like, oh, what the fuck am I going to
Yeah,
do?
Like that.
you're sitting there, it's like,
Or they just they started just answering them without even
and
being
then
asked.
you're sitting there, you're like, dude, I'm not even going to talk this podcast.
Dane's looking at me, he's like, asking, I'm like, well, they've already kind of
I'm
said
like,
it.
bro, they're
Yeah.
just reiterating
So I know-
themselves at this
So-
point.
I know you just said most of it, but if we had to rephrase that question, it's this.
Think about how easy it would be now. We didn't even have Chat GPT back then.
That's true. That was
True.
Yeah.
eons
We had to
ago.
come
we
up
had to
with those
think
on
of
our
those
own.
questions.
We were yelling. We were all sitting around the basement. And we're like, "This person's coming on. What should we ask him?"
Yeah.
And everyone's just yelling stuff around the room. I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to text this to him."
It used to be like the workday would end at noon because we had to set up and prepare
Hey,
for the
we can't
podcast
say it
that
ended at
day.
noon because we started at 11.
We
It was
worked
like
for 1 hour. Then we got ready
podcast
for
tonight. We need to start writing questions. We need to get the tripod set up on the stickers.
Somebody
On the
emailed the
floor.
questions to the
They're,
guest.
still there. They're still there, too.
Yeah, one of our biggest concerns in the beginning were like if the tripods were in the right spots. So there's
If we had
stickers
them-
on the floor.
The same spot, consistent.
And I think that spot we stuck with was just happened to be the first spot we put them.
Oh, we put 'em
and then
on
we're
the
like,
first
ah,
night.
it's perfect.
We set them there, and then we're like, "How do we make sure they stay here?" And then we're all like contemplating. There, we put all of our minds together, and we're like, "We should get spray paint. We could spray paint circles on the ground." And then we're like in the garage, we're like, "We don't have spray paint." And then we're downstairs, and we have like 12 stickers total. And we're like, "You know what? We could use 9 of those stickers, and we could put them on the ground where they go." And they still lie here today.
So when we were setting up today, I came down here. Dane has all the tripods up. I'm like, dude, you got to put them where they're supposed to be. And I started lining them up. He's like, they're not going in those spots. I'm like, stickers are there for a reason.
They're
bro."
there for a reason.
They've had a little traction over the time.
But it is a huge testament. I mean, you mentioned, we were talking earlier about the stats. Like doing 100 episodes, I don't think people even realize what goes into that. We've given up essentially, most of the time, 1 week or 1 night out of our week to be able to record a podcast. And then huge props to Ricky in the beginning for editing the podcast all himself. And now thankfully we have a great team that handles that for us.
Shout
But
out, Caden.
yeah,
I got you, bro.
that alone is just, I see why people don't continue to do it.
Yeah.
But you have to do, that's what it takes, is a sacrifice to get to this point, to be able to do stuff like this.
And I also think when you even touch on the point of like putting out the podcast.
Yeah.
So there's so many people are like, well, you just have to film it and you got to put it out there. And
Just put it up.
so, yeah, just put it out there. And then, like, people just magically flock to it. And a podcast is just like a business. You have to market a podcast all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That when you have a podcast and you are cutting these short form reels, you have to have these short form videos that are on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever you can have a short form video, they need to be running to where then it drives people into that funnel all the time.
Yeah.
And we had an excavating, a client of ours has been on multiple times. CP, when he was on, one of his reels hit what, like 5.5 million views on Facebook,
Yes.
like overnight.
It was something crazy.
So I'm like, we come in also, we're like, oh my God, this video went viral, blah, blah. And last thing we even think to check is like the podcast. And then later that day, we're like, you think people went to watch the podcast after that? And then we like go look at it, we're like, holy shit, we had 10,000 hours of listen time in the last 24
Well,
hours.
one of
And
like
they're-
the top comments is like, "How do I go find the podcast?" We're like, we
Yeah.
should pin the
Yeah.
podcast as the top comment.
We're geniuses. And it's like, but it's, you look at things so simple like that, that in the next 2 weeks, I had calls from construction companies and excavating companies in Canada. And like, hey, we listen to your podcast. Can you do our marketing? I'm like, we don't do work in Canada right now. But,
Sorry.
like, if you're close to KC, we'll help you out like one of these days. But it's like in the future when like companies grow to that size, that one day we're going to be at that size that we can reach nationwide like that.
Yeah.
And I just think that a lot of people discount the actual full workload that goes into a podcast, and they just think it's like, oh yeah, we record this, and then like it just magically pops up, and then it goes everywhere, and then people just listen to it. And
They
then,
listen to it because it's there.
Yeah. I mean, all a podcast really takes is like, what, an hour at a time? You just got to record it.
Oh, if that,
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, I was looking at their stats today on the Euro, or doing a 2023 recap, and they had like 5.5 million reach on Facebook, and I think it was over 1.2 million on Instagram. Just
Yeah.
from, I mean, most of that from those podcast clips.
Yeah, and I think that that's just it. The other tricky thing about podcasts, that I want this to be something that that people listening, people watching, see what we've done, but we can also educate people on podcasts. That when you're putting out 30-second to minute-long clips, you're not competing against the titans in the arena. It's when you start putting out an hour-long podcast, you're competing with Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, like DirecTV, cable, whatever it is. Like, you're competing at a whole different level now. You're going to try to capture an hour of someone's time. You're trying to get an hour of someone's attention. In today's world, that's gold. Like, attention is worth more than money in today's world. And if you capture someone for 30 seconds of their time, it's really hard to say, hey, I pushed you all the way down funnel in 30 seconds. But if you can capture, it's crazy. We have meetings with people that they come in, they're like, well, I know everyone here. It's like, oh, that's so-and-so and that's so-and-so. And they come in the office and it's like a lead that reaches out to us, which most businesses don't have that. They reach out to us and they're like, well, I listen to the podcast every week and I know who those people are. But they get to see a raw, organic, and authentic side to us. But that's what I like about the podcast is it's not a scripted sale.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we tried to do in the beginning. We thought it had to be so scripted. I'm like, if somebody watches this, we should be pitching them. Like, we need to be pitching them. In
And they
case,
got to know we know about marketing.
yeah, I'm like, they have to know that we're experts in marketing. Which at that point, I'm not going to say we were by any means. We still might not be, but it was.
we're learning along the way.
You're always learning more. So it's like, it was just crazy to look at our perception of what we thought people wanted to see or listen to what reality actually was.
Yeah.
So I think that this is something that's went very hand in hand with the evolution of Moss Marketing Group. I think it is a huge pillar of what we've done. And it started right here.
Yeah.
I also think it's telling too because every single guest that we have had on the podcast has been a direct like connection with someone. Like whether they're a client, whether they're a friend or acquaintance of someone on MMG, everyone that has been a guest on the podcast has a direct correlation with one of us, which I think is really cool too. It's not like we're just having Joe Schmo off the street just come in for a podcast because we need to get one. We actually take the time to reach out and like get personable with the guests that we have on.
And I think that everyone sitting here, and I mean people within the company, it is something that has expanded our network so quickly that we may know client X over here that comes on our podcast, and then client Y, or ends up being client Y, comes in, listens to our podcast, like, hey, I like what these people are talking about, things like that. How many people it leads us into having that conversation with that, are we always a perfect fit? No. But it leads into at least having that conversation. But it expands that network so quickly. And I think that was something that in the beginning, when I first had the podcast idea, I'm going to say I was kind of selfish in the idea of what it was, because in my thought process, it was a sales tool for MMG. That was 100% in the beginning. I was like, instead of starting the sales side now and us building this whole side of outreach, let's do it and build this backdoor sales funnel. And it was selfish on the way I thought about it. But as it progressed, my whole thought of what the podcast was changed. That I didn't care about the podcast fueling MMG anymore. I cared about the podcast of what the voice it gave to other business owners. That we've had so many business owners like that have came on and they tell us that we have never had a platform to tell our story. We've never had a space where we can go over these things and express and deep dive into who they truly are. And I thought in the beginning, if we talked about marketing all the time, I was like, that's going to make us the experts. Everyone's going to flock our way. I'm like, that's what the people are going to come after.
I mean, who doesn't want to listen to marketing?
Yeah, for real. And it's funny because like in the beginning, like as everyone started, I'm like, guys, people don't want to hear about marketing on social. Like, and I was like the first one that was like, no marketing on social. I was like, if we push that all the time, they're going to run. I was like, we need to grow a following about what people want to see. And then
Let's start a marketing podcast.
So then I revert to complete opposite of what I said when I started the podcast, or we started the podcast. And as it's progressed, I'm like, actually just use it as a platform to give other people a voice. And it's actually turned into something so much bigger.
Yeah.
And I look at when we had Hank on the first time, and then it led into Hank and Beaver. The amount of people, the first time when Hank's podcast dropped, it drops on a Monday. We get on MMG's Instagram on Tuesday. I think we have like 150 new followers. I'm going through and it's like Army Ranger, Army Ranger, Army Ranger, Army Ranger, Army Ranger. I'm like, every single one of these dudes knows Hank. And it was just like the door that opened. But if you listen to that podcast, it really has nothing to do with, there wasn't a lick of marketing, I think, talked about.
I'm trying to think of literally a single word about marketing.
I think once he started talking about training as a Ranger, I was like, jaw dropped to the ground. I'm like,
entertainment. That's what people like to hear. That's shit that you don't see every day. You don't hear about every day, those experiences. So
I've re-listened to those podcasts that we filmed with him, and I was on it.
Yeah.
I think it goes into the mindset of the individual. Like learning how, because Hank does work with his dad on their business and they're regrowing it from a different position because it was at the top, they tapered off, and now they're regrowing. And the mindset of what he went through there, I think, changed the way he looked at business coming back.
Well, everything's easier after you've done shit like that.
After listening to that, I'm like, bro, you can do anything.
Yeah.
I think we talk about it all the time that it's training your mind in whatever you do. That we've trained our mind that this does not fear me. Like I do not fear this one bit. There was not a second today that I even thought about this as like a fear of anything I was doing. I was excited about this all day. I was like everything I was doing, I was like, oh, we're doing podcast 100 tonight. Everyone's coming to the house. I'm like, I'm pumped. Podcast number 1, I had a completely different vibe.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. I think my hands.
think
We'll
this
get it later. We'll
Yeah.
do it
My
later.
hands are fucking sweaty the whole
yeah.
time.
I'm like, you think this day could be 72 hours today?
And it was a
that
leather couch, and
Yeah.
everybody was sweating.
And it wasn't even just the first one either. I remember like the 4th or 5th one too. The first one we had Ty Thorne on. I was sitting there like hands sweaty.
I definitely think it's important to note that isn't something that went away after the first episode. Like a lot of it did, but it's still a gradual thing that comes over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely is something that was like evolved quicker and quicker and quicker as we've like went. But it was, I mean, I would say probably first 15, 20.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
mid 20s, because once an account actually reached out to us, I think that's when Dane was like, you know what? I think we have something here.
I will say,
there
podcast
was-
like 20, I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what, guys? A lot of people on YouTube are hating on us. I'm like, they're saying we should have a podcast. I'm like, they may be right. I'm like, I've listened to some of them. They're kind of bad. I was like, maybe we're not the podcast guys. I was like, maybe we should just hang it up. And I was like, we have not had a single account reach out to us. And you have to think like doing 20 episodes. I mean, we're knocking on the door of 6 months, like half a year doing this. Like, it's not a short period of time that you're doing this every single week. And you're busting ass. You're doing it. That's like going to the gym for 6 months and you haven't lost a single pound.
That would be very discouraging.
Yeah, you're like, you know what? Maybe the gym's not for me. Like, and we're sitting there like,
Go home, eat a cheeseburger, be like, man, I don't know what's going on.
this is a lot better. So we're at like almost 6 months, and I'm like, I remember having a talk with Dre. I was like, man, we're spending a lot of time on this podcast deal we're trying to do. I was like, I really actually don't like it at all. I was like, I dread Mondays, like having to do this. I'm like, I'm texting people all the time trying to get them lined up. And then I just get dogged on YouTube every week. I'm like, so
Can't read the comments, man.
I go, yeah, so I'm not super fond of this.
And it's the same thing as like a diet or a workout plan or anything. Like how easy would have it been to just skip a week?
Yeah.
To just not.
It would have been
I
really easy
think-
to just start skipping
I
week
think
after
we
week.
were.
Actually.
Yeah.
I think we may have been 2 to 3 weeks out from just shutting the podcast down, because within that week that Dane and I had that talk, I think 2 or 3 clients actually reached out that week, and Dane's like, "It works, bro." And it's like the fire was relit.
That's like that breakthrough point though that you have in anything as well. Like at a certain point, you become so confident in what you're doing with yourself that the comments start to not matter. You don't really care what people are saying about it. All it matters is that you know you're doing it and that you have confidence in it. So like getting up until that breakthrough point is the hardest thing in anything. The hardest thing in fitness, the hardest thing in, your finances, all of it in life. But if you can just keep going through it.
I will say that at that point, I mean, it was roughly around 20. We have this talk, and I was like, what could we be doing with this time? Because I was looking, I'm like, dude, we're burning a lot of time. I was like, I mean, we could make T-shirts in the basement and probably make more money than what the podcast make. And so we're going on to this, and
it was not negative. There was no positive. It was
I
all
was like,
negative.
dude, I'm putting the chart together. I'm like, pros, nothing. I was like, cons, I was like, there's a lineup over here. I'm like, so, and then all of a sudden it was like that week, like 3 new accounts reached out to us. I'm like, hey man, been listening to the podcast. I think we should like link up to take over our marketing. I was like, dude, we're like marketing wizards. I'm like, dude, we got this. I'm like, let's go.
Holy
like,
shit, it worked.
Why is no one
podcast-
doing this?
I was like, podcast is the best thing we've ever done.
Why would I have ever thought that it was bad?
Yeah.
I knew it was working.
Yeah, I totally
the
knew
whole
this was
time.
happening the
Never
whole time.
doubted.
Another few weeks.
So it was funny how fast that like transition happened. That then after that, I told him, I was like, dude, this is a non-negotiable. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is something we do every week for the lifetime of us doing it. And I mean, that was 80 episodes ago now.
Bro, there's levels to it too. Like it doesn't stop there. Like that was a level up for us. And then like moving into the office, obviously that was a big MMG level up. But also how excited were we to move the podcast to the office at that time? Like that was another level. And then how excited were we to
Move it
get
back.
a new space, move it back to the garage and get a little bit.
That's sitting back there saying like, oh, I really liked it.
Well, we
I
got
think-
back to our personalities and like
Yeah.
our, personal style when we brought it back here. It was like, it was still good, but it was too formal and like a little
And
bit
you could
awkward.
hear the people upstairs through the headphones.
That
And
was pretty bad.
I think the
Bro,
guest
we would have
experience
them-
thoughts
has
of
been
bringing
better
it back
though.
to the basement.
Every time we've like
This is
up
we
the
almost talked about
podcast,
this.
every time we change it, I feel like the guest experience or our client experience gets better with it.
For sure.
So
too.
I will say, like what Dalton hit on was, and I think Ricky and I have talked about this. Like he'll come over and we're setting up the garage and stuff, getting it ready. The experience of the person coming on
Mhm.
is so huge, and I feel like we lost that with
Yeah.
the office.
Yeah, because we were doing
For
them
sure.
at like noon and stuff, and everyone would be working in the office, and it's like
Like we
So-
all say hi, chat a little bit, and then it's
like
like,
who's
all right,
on the
we're gonna
So we're gonna
podcast.
do
Everyone
it.
else keep
We're gonna
working.
We had to like
Yeah.
pry people onto the podcast to get
Yeah.
4 seats.
Yeah, and it was like everyone's like, no, I can do this, this, or this, and then it was like, and when we brought it back to the house, I was like, what if we do it in the garage? I was like, we set it up in there. I'll get heat and AC in there. If we set the
I
garage
don't
up,
think we did that immediately.
I was gonna say that's another level up that we had.
yeah, yeah,
technicalities, whatever. But I was like, what if we bring it back to the house? I was like, one thing that I did enjoy, even at the very beginning, was the experience of the person coming.
Mhm.
That it was funny because the whole time we were in the basement, to the outside public, no one ever knew we were in the basement.
Mhm.
So that was
now you can definitely tell we're in a basement.
now you know we're in the basement. That's insulation behind us. Unfinished basement on top of that. But it was like in the early days of Moss Marketing Group, like I told Dre all the time, I go, if you talk to anyone, I was like, offices are in Shoal Creek. And I was like, offices, not the house, offices.
If they call you in your vehicle, tell them you're on the way to the office.
Yeah. And then they'd be like, okay, can we meet? I'm like, yeah, you know what? Office is full right now. You want to meet at Saltgrass. And so I ate out everywhere for lunch when
Yeah.
I met with clients.
Yep.
I was like, hey, man, you know what? I'm actually closer to Liberty right now. There's a bunch of people at the office. Like, you just want to meet at Saltgrass?
Yeah,
And then
it's too
people are
long,
like, where
man.
your office at? I'm like, oh, that side, 152.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
it's,
I
over,
know
it's
that.
over that way.
That way.
Yeah.
If you go over there, take a right, left, right,
Yeah.
it's like over there.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Due west.
Close to the
but-
golf course. I
Yeah.
mean,
Pretty much on the golf course, but whatever. It's like, so it was just funny, like the perception that we had to put out to the outside world because we were selling a premium product. We were delivering a premium product. But I'm like, in my head, I was like, if you go into a client at this level and you tell them that you're working in a basement, I would tell them to kick rocks.
Yeah.
Try was like, you never say we're in a basement. You never say we're working out of the house. And it was like,
Hey, that's a 50-50. They're like, man, they're either gonna suck really bad or they're like,
did you
They're
guys know
about
that
to
we were?
blow
In,
up.
did you guys know we were in a basement
I don't think
When-
at first.
Yeah.
no.
at the foundation?
At
Did you-
Yeah,
first,
after
no.
after
I
we
mean,
got to talking.
yeah, I guess it wouldn't have been right away.
did
Yeah.
we tell you we were heading to the office after?
we probably did say
I
I
that.
don't-
don't
I
think, no,
just-
every time you'd leave, you'd say, all right, we're going to go get lunch now. And I'm like,
Probably Panda.
Oh yeah.
I'd say
No,
98%.
no, we didn't do
Panda.
that every time. Sometimes we went whiskey hunting too.
Yeah.
We went in every
Yeah.
single liquor
Shelter.
store across
Yes.
Liberty and back
Yeah.
every day.
yes. But Ricky's favorite thing was to tell people that we left our job and we were going to work for someone in this basement.
Yeah, I told
So it was a big plus for you.
Yeah, every single person that I told what we were doing, like why we were leaving the gym, that's what I told them.
Yeah. So we
He's like,
did
"Oh,
have
no,
to.
not going to the office, going to a dude's basement.
Yeah,
Practically Amazon, like pretty much the next Amazon.
basically the same thing.
So we've talked about it a lot, like your guys' first day and like the changes, when, the awkwardness when you guys
Oh,
started.
yeah.
But yeah, that was when we were like, we
Is that
gotta
'cause
we
you
gotta
want-
change a little bit of stuff. We gotta start going to the
That
gym
was
at like
horrible.
8 instead of
Yeah,
10.
like a little more structure.
Yeah.
I do think like I'm gonna say Ricky. I'm not gonna say it was 100% you. I think it was more Lauren. They kind of changed the demographic, like the actual operations of Moss Marketing Group, because at that point, like it was funny because I meet you guys at the gym. And I was like, and then we get to talking and like everything progresses. I was like, I really want these people to be part of Moss Marketing Group. And so I sit down with Mass and I was like, I think these are the people. And she's like, do you have the work? I was like, no. I was like, no, not at all. Actually, I was like, we actually have like way more time than we
Working
need.
half days right now.
And she's like, why would you hire people right now? I was like, I think Moss Marketing Group, I think the main thing about everything that, when I say everything that was built at that point, there wasn't a whole lot built, but everything that was built at that point was betting on people. And I was like, there's people that you cross that I'm like, I just believe in people. And I was like, that is it. And I was like, I can figure out the money side. I was like, we'll figure that out. And she's like, you really believe it like that much? I was like, yeah. So we all go have sushi. And it was literally at that point that you guys come on, and I think Lauren was like so terrified of what you guys were going to do.
She was nervous.
And she's like, what do I wear? I'm like, I mean, halftime we don't have shirts on in the basement. So I'm like, I don't know, wear whatever you want. I'm like, so like first
Looks
day,
like we're wearing shirts though.
so Lauren,
Yeah, definitely a shirt and pants, please.
yeah. So Lauren shows up. I'm like, guys, we really have to straighten up what we're doing here. I'm
No,
like,
we sat down and had a serious conversation. We're like, we really have to watch what we say.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we
We're
did.
gonna have to like completely put a filter on what we say.
And there's a group chat that was like, it's like, man, we need to go back and just clear
Yeah,
the group
make
Yeah,
sure
we're
they
just gonna start a
can't
new
see
group
anything
chat.
before.
Yeah, like you kick me out and put me back in and see if I can see the old stuff.
that's what we were doing. We're like, if you're like newly
Right.
added, can you see anything else we've said in here?
Dude, if those old
So-
group chats saw the
Oh my
light of day.
God.
Yeah,
Oh
but
boy,
it was funny.
like,
Like
we all know what we were talking about.
it was funny when that was like happening, and Lauren starts like the first 2 weeks we just sat like pretty much silent in the basement.
My entire first day, I sat over in the corner in my chair because my computer was not ready yet.
Doing nothing.
It was.
Yeah, I
Because-
think I deleted everything else.
Yes,
I did
you had
before.
deleted everything, and it took the whole day to set up.
Well,
I don't think I said a word. I don't think I moved from the chair besides to go to the bathroom, and I just sat there all
Which
day long.
is kind of strange because we actually knew each other before. It wasn't like it was just like new, like, hey, I'm in
Yeah.
this office with a bunch
well,
of guys.
Exactly.
it was awkward because we knew that we were hiring her and she was going to work with us, but we didn't know what she was going to do. That was so she shows up and we're like, set up your computer. Here's a new toy.
I'll keep her busy for at least a day.
We'll figure it out tomorrow.
Tuesday. Oh,
When
No,
did,
for real though. Dalton
when
and I
did
were like,
I
what
meet
the
you
fuck?
though, Lauren?
that day.
Yeah,
Was it
well,
that-
you were a myth.
Was it that
Yeah.
You weren't
evening?
real.
Was it that evening?
2 years ago today.
So they all talk about them
Oh, yeah,
going
it is
out
today.
and doing everything at like
Well,
10, 11.
You don't need to go justify
Yeah,
everything.
come on.
I was
Hey,
actually
hey,
out at 7 a.m.
Hey, buddy, I was there
working.
too.
Yeah, you don't need to
At
go
one
on your
time.
soapbox.
I was
but-
there at one time too. All right.
Hey, there you go. And
Yeah.
one time counts.
One
Well,
time.
one time I was there.
Yes.
No, don't tell me a ton.
But it was funny when I'm talking to Dalton, Logan, Dre, and everything. I'm like, so we got 2 new people, and they're like, for what? I'm like, that's a great question. I was like, they're good people. I was like, they're going to bring a lot to Moss Marketing Group, and they're like what? I'm like, well, Ricky was doing these videos and they had audio on them. I was like,
Yeah. Well, we
at this point, I was the content guy. I'm like, I don't know how to use audio. I was like, the audio is it doesn't exist in
No,
Moss
we
Marketing.
could use audio,
Nah.
just not.
It had to be on the
Not
camera,
well.
and it was
Not
really
well.
bad.
we'd be recording this on voice notes right now if Ricky hadn't started.
We went to film somewhere. I was like, it'd be cool if like we set this iPhone over here and clicked record.
Right behind you, just in case.
Just in
Just in
case.
case our
Like,
mics don't
just in
work,
case.
knowing that they weren't going to work.
Knowing that I'm
I
plugging
actually
them
don't
in,
know how
like-
to use them.
I'm like, I know they're on there, but I don't know how they work.
You mind if I clip this on you? Yep. Okay, perfect.
But then like,
Not using that, but
Yeah.
the phone behind you.
Yeah.
Slip that in
Put this in your front pocket.
but then like, Lauren comes on, Ricky comes on, and they sit over there, and they started off as desk mates. And let me tell you that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, there's a big
Happy
break up there.
times.
Yeah, those are good times. I think for
For
Ricky.
one
I don't
party.
think.
One party was happy.
Not this party.
I was
So-
thrilled.
I think the first time I ever said like, "Hey, we're getting another desk," and Lauren's like, she exploded out of her chair.
She said
Like
she
a
put it
fucking
together.
I
rocket.
put it together.
She
Yeah,
said
she
she
did.
I'll build
volunteered.
it. I'll do whatever. I'll
Yeah,
sit
she said
wherever
she'd
you
put
put
it
the desk.
together, she
I'm
could
there. So,
Yep.
and it was, I don't even think I know what you guys did in the beginning. Like, I think I had Ricky set up for content. I'm like, hey, I could use some help over here. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. And then the marketing guys were like, I mean, they're working on ads, and I'm like,
Actually, I do know what Lauren was kind of doing. I had her give me one of her business cards. We had her title as
graphic design.
graphic design. I was sitting there. I'm like, She showed me her card. I'm like, you don't hand this out, do you? She's like, no. I'm like, we're gonna get some new ones today. I'm like,
That was
yeah,
this
that was a
week.
while ago.
Yeah, Drake calls me this week. He's like, hey, I'm getting new cards made for Lauren. I'm like, Lauren's out of cards? He goes, no, her cards
Damn,
say
she's been hustling.
her cards say graphic design manager. I was like, yeah, she hasn't done graphic design in over a year.
No, not at all.
I think you did posting a lot.
Yep, I did a lot of posting, a lot of
Ad building.
Yeah.
a lot of building car ads.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
I know you love
fancy
that.
car,
You
yeah.
If
love
anyone wants to know what the bread and
that.
butter
She wants to.
is,
She
We-
actually
we-
wants to go back to that.
Yeah.
it was funny when we were like, in the beginning, I was talking to them and they're like, yeah, they fully had it. They were under control. We didn't have enough work. And then I was like, we'll put some stuff on Lauren. And like what? I'm like, I don't know, have to do something. I was like, add to the accounts. Like, give her work. I was like, and they're like, well, we don't have enough work. I'm like,
So
all right, I'll go try to find some more work. I was like, I'll go just sell dealerships on like per car marketing. Like literally, like after that, I think I went into stores for like 2 weeks. And I was like, do we have enough work? And they're like, yeah, we got plenty of work.
Yeah,
Chill out,
that is a funny transition though, just from Dalton and I's perspective to being like, we don't want to give up our work to now it's like, okay, we know how to delegate to offload work to people. So
it's weird though, and I think a lot of people go through that. I was struggling with the same thing over the last 4 or 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you have this list of things that you have to do, and it takes all of the time that you're at work, and then you get rid of 80% of those, it's like, well, now what do I do? But that's the innovation. That's where you level up, and unless you delegate all that other stuff, that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
and it's funny, like in the evolution of Moss Marketing Group, I've hit it like multiple times, and I never actually realized I hit it. That there was a point that I approved every ad that went out for Moss Marketing Group. And I actually sat down here with Ricky earlier and I was talking about it. And it was something that like, it brought me back to sitting right there. Where that rug sits right there is where my desk sat. And it brought me back to...
If you look on that camera, it's right at my...
But it's like, it brought me back to sitting there at 11 o'clock at night on my computer approving ads after everyone had left. That because I didn't trust anyone. I was like, I'm the only one that can approve this. And it was like such a terrible thing at that point that then it's like fast forward until probably about 8 months ago when Adam becomes part of MMG. That when I sit with Adam, he goes over and he's like, I need you to do one thing. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like one thing, easy enough. And he's like, you need to take this off your plate, this off your plate, this off your plate, and this off your plate. I'm like, well, that's my job. That's like everything that I do. And as I like, because at one point I was handling 100% invoicing. I was doing a terrible job. And I was doing all onboarding, not doing a great job. And I was doing all these different things and just being like a jack of all trades, master of none. He's like, you need to hand this off. Who do you have that can do this? Who do you have that can do this? He's like, you're managing all of content. Who can do that? He's like, and I'm like, dude, what am I going to do during the day? But it's crazy. Like fast forward 8 months, I'm like, I'm busier than I've ever been, but it's on different things that actually grow and evolve the company, that it's like taking those steps forward every single time. But it's the same thing happens all the way through a company.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing happened when Lauren started and when Ricky started, and same thing happened when it was just Dre and I. Mm-hmm. From the beginning when it was just me to then when Dre comes on to when Dalton comes on. I mean, the difference at that point. I remember when
moved from
the bedroom down here.
No, we didn't.
I guess
we were still up there for a month or two.
So the funniest thing is when
the heat rises in Dane's house. I don't know if you guys know that.
You had a gas chamber in there.
Heat rises. If you want to do it's science. You can look that up. True fact.
Check, Lauren. You want to fact check that?
But it was funny. We start off in a bedroom upstairs. I'm in this bedroom by myself. I'm like, I get a couple car dealerships. I'm like, Dre, I think I got something with the marketing deal. I'm like, you want to come join me? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So he comes over and I'm like, he's like, where am I going to sit? I'm like, how about you just sit on the other side of the desk? I'll sit on this side, you sit on that side. and the dog starts. I'm like, you sit on that side, like on the corner. Dre sits over there. I'll sit on this side. So we're all in this bedroom. And then one day it's like super hot. And I think everyone that knows me knows that like anytime I make a decision, it's like 2.5 seconds. Like we knock down a wall. It's happening right now. I was like, we should go to the basement. The basement's not used in the house. Let's ride. So within probably about 5 minutes, we're taking computers. We're bringing everything downstairs. I was like, you know what, guys? I think we've evolved this company now to this point that we can get 2 desks. I was like, how about we get one long one for you two? And then I can have my desk back.
And a standing desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dalton's like,
Because
what?
that was always used for standing.
Tom goes, what if we get a standing desk? I'm like, you know what? I'll support you and get you guys a standing desk.
But you remember Dre's paint bucket?
Oh my
Oh,
god.
wait.
It's probably around
Dude, that makes it sound like I'm going to the bathroom
Someone should
to
find a
basement.
paint bucket.
So,
Someone find
wait.
it.
Wait,
It's probably
It's
tucked back
it's
down that
probably
corner
right.
back there by the
So-
HVAC.
It was our own personal urinal.
So we moved to the basement. We get everything set up. The only thing we don't think about is plugging anything in. So we have all of our desks set up. We have our chairs down here. We're like, wow.
Like 2 outlets.
Like, and then we look around and we're like, oh shit. And there's like nowhere to plug a computer in. And so I'm calling an electrician. I'm like, hey, can we get outlets put in my basement? Like, didn't even think about that. I've been down here like maybe 5 times since I owned the house. And I was like, we need outlets. And then this wall over here was like just the support beams. I'm like, we should make that wood. It would look way better. So I was like, I would that this one weekend. And so we're sitting way over there. I'm like, wow, dude, all we have is space. I was like, the world is ours now. And
Oh, Dane's like, oh, we could definitely fit like 10, 15 more people down here. He's like, we can grow for a while.
I was like, shh. I'm like, we're going to be printing
We
money
had
down
a
here.
ping pong table over there. You know,
Dalton took a lot of L's right there.
No, I don't take that many anymore.
Well, the ping pong table started here.
It did
And then
start here.
Yeah.
Then it eventually had to move over there.
I think
Yeah.
when Ricky and Lauren started, we had like expanded this way.
Yeah, because your desk came
Yours
here
was
and
right
mine
here.
was right over there.
I think it was almost right after the podcast. It was like, we had a long talk. It's like, guys, we may have to get rid of the ping pong table.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's
Because
a lot.
they're like,
There's some plans about
if
that.
not, we're going to have to fold it up over there and then we can bring it out.
Yeah, we had to push it back for like every episode.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
tripod-
Oh, yeah.
And
we've
you
had to
kind of
fold it
see
up.
what Logan did to the insulation over there. But that's
That is the side he always played on.
I left my mark on this place.
But it was like, I don't know. I sit down here and it's just like where something holds so many memories. Like
Don't get emotional on it.
I could a little bit down here. Like this place holds something different, and it was something was started here.
Next podcast is in the bedroom.
I don't think we're fitting in the bedroom for anything.
Your
Unless-
podcast could be called Between the Sheets.
Podcast.
Hank should start a podcast.
Yeah.
Text him right now.
No, I think we'll know if Hank listens this one.
Shout out,
We'll
Hank.
get a text.
Yeah.
What is that podcast?
Should we take some questions?
Yeah. Let's do some questions from the crowd out here. They do have a mic out there. So
Oh,
You guys
Dave-
better have thought of
Dave-
some by now.
Caden's ready.
I've got one. So I want to hear from every person either your favorite podcast episode that you were in, or your favorite moment of a podcast that you were in.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a
I'm
good
gonna
question.
cheat.
Ooh, he's been
That
thinking over there.
That is a great question.
Oh, I see Jaime grinning. He's got something coming.
Look.
All
I've got mine for sure. I've got mine.
right, Lauren, you start.
Yeah.
Okay, my favorite, and this has absolutely nothing to do with marketing or the podcast in general, but my favorite to date, my favorite was freaking Todd.
Oh, with the
The
llamas.
llamas. Oh my gosh! So
Yeah.
it was one of the episodes down here in the basement, and I think this was still around the time where Dane liked to have like an hour of socializing with the guest, having
before.
some drinks before to kind of loosen up before starting the podcast. Which this wasn't a guest, like Dane knew this guest.
I'm
for
very
years.
good, very good friends with
Yes,
Todd.
so it's not like we had to like break the ice or anything for this guest, but I don't even know how long his episode was. A little
It
over
was-
an hour, probably.
I think it was like an hour and 40 minutes,
Oh,
So I
shit.
will
Okay.
say when
maybe.
in the beginning when we sent people questions and sent this like huge long list, I think they thought it was going to be like crazy formal. To where I think it almost psyched people out more.
Yeah,
I think
it
when
totally
people,
did.
I think when people just show up, they're like, "What is this about?" I'm like, "We're just going over your life story, like whatever. We'll just discuss it." And they're like, "Oh, okay." Like way easier. I think in the beginning when we'd send them this list, they'd be like, "Holy shit!"
right.
Like,
they would be nervous a
The
little bit.
TV scared me.
Yeah.
Scared them too.
So Todd came in.
That's a bad idea.
Terrible
Todd,
idea.
Todd came in. The podcast was practically done. Like we were wrapping up. Dane was about to like do the like exit part of the podcast.
I tried like 5
And
times.
Todd was feeling himself at this point. He was a few whiskeys
Well, I think
deep.
he had 3 or 4 before we started.
Yeah. He was a few whiskeys deep.
Don't be counting his drinks, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I
Pocket
just know
watching.
because I couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah. And if you watch it on camera, he slowly starts like slumping over in his seat in the couch. And as the podcast is about to wrap up, he starts talking about this llama that that his parents got that ended up being pregnant and having a baby. Like it was like a solid 15-20 minutes extra about the llamas, and it was hilarious.
You guys can all drink it. David's like, give it to me.
Me and my
He's gonna
dad.
finish it.
I'll finish it.
Can we plug a bit of him just
Yeah.
just the
Yeah,
intro of him
We're
going
gonna
like
plug
no
a little
about
bit.
my llamas.
What was its name?
Oh, God.
No one else?
It was like I don't remember.
Dude, if you haven't tried
Anyway.
it, yeah, try it at least.
It was like,
No, not
But go on.
who's of age.
Drake, Zibit.
Not
Dre.
not you.
Dre has
I was
three.
trying to get
No,
you to shut up so I can answer.
Logan's got
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, Dre's,
Go ahead, buddy.
He's had
Wait
3
on
high
you.
noons.
I got 2. So one of the first one, I guess, was with the South Africans. I mean, I think they have a really good story in general. Really entertaining, obviously. Just I love hearing different perspectives of people around the world and what their life's like. So that one was really enjoyable to me, especially hearing the perspective of someone that's similar age to us. So that one was really cool. I enjoyed that one. And then having one of my buddies, Sam Webb, on that plays for the Raiders. That one was really cool. Yeah. I mean, there's not a specific moment from either that stands out, but just those two.
So I'll go next.
Thank
We'll
you.
just keep
That
wrapping
makes
down.
sense. Yeah.
I think there's so many that have like individual moments that stood out. And I'm going to say one of mine that like really kind of rang home was Frank Termini. And it was somebody that I knew before for quite a while, but I didn't know his full story. And it was like listening to his full story of everything that's happened and what he's overcame was very eye-opening. And it was, I don't know, I think something that everyone sees the level of where people are at now. They don't know the road that gets them there. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say that's one. And then also CP. Corey was someone that, another person that people see this huge excavating company now. They don't see Corey in 2012 with a single truck, a trailer, and a skid loader. Excuse me. And I feel like that's the equivalent of us sitting in a basement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's the point where he couldn't even.
He could barely get the skid loader.
Exactly. And it's like he's leasing a skid loader, borrowing a trailer. All he really has is a truck. And now you see what they have now. And it's like,
Yeah.
those ones where people just come from the very, very start and they build it all. I don't know. Those kind of just ring home to me a lot because I feel like we've done the exact same thing from starting from ground zero and building the empire around us. So those are kind of my two that really hit home on kind of two different bases.
So first one that comes into mind for me is we had my buddy Metal Complex on the podcast.
Those go.
And
In 100 of them, there's a lot.
there's a lot to go back through. So this was probably somewhere in the 40s. It was at the office, and I had moved away from Hayes at that point 3-4 years ago, or 3 or 4 years after, or whatever. And my buddy has a YouTube channel about knives that he started while we were supposed to be selling cars, and I kind of helped him get that off the ground. But it's become his full-time thing, and to wrap that all around kind of full circle, to have him back on our podcast, that was just a really cool moment. And then all the MMG ones, because I feel like that's really one of the only times that we reflect on the progress of things. And those podcasts are always pretty cool. We never know what we're going to talk about until we get rolling, but those are fun.
That is kind of true.
Yeah,
Most of the time
right.
we have some podcasts where like, hey, we're going to talk about MMG this week. And then it's like about 5 minutes before it starts, we're all either,
So what are we going to talk about?
yeah, like, what are we going over? Like, we're at the office, like we'll ask that question at least like 15 times during the day, and no one ever really comes up with an answer. It's
Nobody
like,
really
they just gotta get round robins
know.
around the office. But Dre, what is yours?
For mine, I would probably say Hank and Beaver. That one, I haven't been in awe of something that I'm not even in the realm to even know what they went through. And then also Nick Conforti.
Yeah,
Nick Conforti is someone that I've known for a few years now, but I've known that he did well, and then actually learning how he got to where he was and how all the stars aligned for him to grasp it and just run with it was probably one of the cooler stories I've heard.
I think it's pretty cool when you look at a story like that people see this company with 300 plus employees, but they don't look at the 12-year-old buying wholesale produce down hustling at the market. That was the beginning of establishing something like that. So I think that has probably been my favorite part. Like, it gives me goosebumps like when I talk about it, is you see these like just monster companies that are built, that we've had so many of them on the podcast, that, I mean, here's where it starts. Here's where they got to. And it's because they had a vision that no one else had.
Yeah. And
they saw how to get there. Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty legit. Dalton?
Tough question, Caden. Very tough question. I only
Dalton would make a much better, like, if this was a press conference, Dalton, like, you know what, Caden, tough question.
This is kind of what
He only had 10 minutes to think about it.
It feels like I'm an athlete up here, like answering questions about the game. But no, I'll only speak to. I mean, it's funny because I feel like there's been podcasts like through the time where I'm like, man, that was like the best podcast we had, and it like as time goes on, it's like every time you keep saying that, but. I'll just speak to ones that I've been on. So I think having my friend Steven's mom on that I hadn't seen in probably 8 years. Probably not that long. I don't know. I hadn't seen her in a long time. And then she's on our podcast, and like, you know, it was kind of like going down memory lane a little bit, which was cool. I enjoyed Chip Glennon's podcast too. Was that his second? Was he on?
That's really good.
Was he on twice? Has he been on twice?
Once.
Okay.
I think once.
Well, that time was good. I feel like that was a great podcast. And then I think that was Katie and I's first date too. After that podcast, went downtown and met with her. So
There we
that's
go.
what I would say.
Wow.
There's definitely a lot of great moments on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I mean,
if
Story
I could drop an
wise,
applause thing right now, I would.
yeah. Story wise, I think Dylan Smith's was
Yeah.
a really good
Oh,
one.
yeah.
I
And-
think I've also missed a lot of great ones too.
right.
Like I missed Hank's and Beavers and
Dylan's.
Dylan's and
I have never
Sure,
met
you'll watch
such
them, dude.
a like determined
They are recorded.
person.
where can I watch them at?
What a plug.
No, I was thinking the same thing though, Dalton. There's been ones that I missed that I'm just sitting here. I'm like, I should go back and watch those.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that,
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're good.
once again, in the beginning, I thought it was like such a pain in the ass, and it was like something that I was like forcing myself to do. But it's now something that it has become one of the things I look forward most to every single week. That, I mean, Dre pees like 3 times a
I'm
pod.
just glad he made it down the stairs. Those
Yeah.
stairs about killed Dre.
The dog
Yeah,
bolted
he
right
did,
over
he
the
did
door.
break his ankle for 3 months.
All right.
But
Upstairs.
it's once again, I mean, with 100 podcasts out there, there's going to be a day where we have 500. And trying to pick out a favorite, I think
Yeah.
that was a pretty loaded question, Kate.
Yeah.
There's a ton out there.
Tough one.
I think-
Kane's not giving questions anymore. Thank you.
I think he just
I
set
think
up like
David has
6
a
reels
question.
there.
Yeah,
He looks like he's ready.
He does.
David's ready.
Right.
David
David.
is ready.
Okay.
Make sure you look at the camera.
Okay. If you guys could pick one celebrity or one person that you would bring on the podcast, who would it be and why?
Ding. Ding.
I got mine.
Ooh.
I hope the back 2 rows
would
come
guess
out
yours.
swinging.
I
Yeah.
know who Logan's
Yeah.
is.
Wow.
Yeah, mine's for sure Andy. I think all of us would probably say Andy would be high up there on our list, and we hopefully that someday can make that happen. We've submitted a request to have him on the podcast, and so Andy Frisella, he's from Missouri.
Andy.
Keep the hat.
I think
They're pretty much pals.
Send a request. We're on a first name
They
basis.
hang out in the ring.
hey, make sure you tag him in the reel.
Yeah.
I get it. I would understand why you thought we were talking about Andy.
That makes sense.
That would be pretty cool.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, those
would be pretty cool.
two,
Either.
we can put both Andys on at the same time.
Anyone named Andy.
Yeah. But if your name's Andy, we'd like you on the podcast.
Click the link below.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so Andy Frisella, he founded Supplement Superstores, First Form. Ricky and Lauren, obviously, know of him very well. I think a lot of people around here in the fitness space know Supplement Superstores. His story is awesome. Mindset's awesome. And it always hasn't been that way for him. He's always been, grinding in business, but he's gone through a lot of struggles. He has a really cool story. I think all of us have looked up to him, and or at least I have. I shouldn't speak for everyone. There's been points to where 75 Hard and his podcast and stuff have really drawn me out of some low points in my life, motivation wise. So that'd be the guy that, when I get the chance to sit down across from him and ask him some questions and talk with him, that'll be the day.
That's a good answer.
I still don't have mine. I honestly
Lauren, you're up.
I have mine. So I would probably say mine would be Hayden and Katie Schneider. They are the owners of Alani Nu. They're the owners of multiple businesses, and Katie was probably the first influencer that I started following back in like 2014 maybe. And at the time, her and Hayden had just gotten together. They lived in an apartment with their 2 pit bulls. Like, they just lived a basic life. And just seeing, like, being one of those like first followers to see what they've built now is absolutely incredible. All of their businesses are successful. They are to the point where they're not in the day-to-day work of their businesses. They have a team for all of their businesses, running them all on their own. And now they have a family, and like fitness isn't their priority anymore. I would love to not only meet them, but have them on the podcast.
God, these are really good.
Dalton, we're going. I still don't have mine. So.
Ricky?
I think I do. So I was gonna go the Alex Hormozi route, but I've listened to, but I'm not.
I should have went before you.
You should have. I've listened to such a ridiculous amount of his podcasts. Like, I don't even really know what we talk about. I feel like I've heard that whole story a million times. So I think I'm gonna go Brad Lee. He's done well in business. He seems like a guy that'd be really easy to get along with. He's kind of older, so he has that kind of old man wisdom. I think that would be an awesome one.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I'm going to go, is that all you have on Bradley?
That's all I got.
I'm going to go with Ed Mylett. Like, I feel like Ed is just so well-spoken. I mean, his book, The Power of One More, I think hits home on so many bases. And I think that just his overall outlook on life, and the way that I think life is all about the lens that you look at it through. I think he is someone that has a great grasp on that. And he is probably someone I share more of his stuff than anyone else. But it's just because like you see those, and it's not always like, once again, I was going to start off probably the Alex Hormozi route, that I love what he's saying about business all the time, but I don't think it rings home all the time on a personal level too. I think Ed Mylett has that great mix between having that great business forefront, but also having that great life forefront also. And I'm going to have to say Patrick Bet-David also. Like, that dude's dude's coming up. Like, he's out there. I don't even want to say he's coming up. Like, he's out there
for a while.
He's only going faster.
Yeah, and I think his idea of playing forward all the time and problem solving and playing 5 moves ahead is something that every single human being on the planet should be focused on. Is when you're playing ahead, that's how you win the game of life. And too many people play 1 move at a time. When you're playing multiple moves ahead, you're going to find out that the game's different. So it'd be one of those 2 guys. Either one, I'll take.
Flip a coin.
Flip a coin, I'll take either.
I could throw Grant Cardone into mine too. He's the guy.
We could probably sit here and just throw people out.
Yeah, you really could.
Who's Dalton got them?
Man, I think I'm going a different route than most of you guys. I think it's going to be an athlete for me.
I think we're on the same route.
I think mine would either be Ray Lewis or Brian Dawkins. one of those two.
I like
just dominant defensive players.
That would be
Just-
awesome.
I don't think Dane knows what you're talking about.
These are guys that like were the leaders of basically the whole team, but they played defense. They were able to rally people, win championships. They had a different kind of energy about them,
Bro,
and great stories.
that's actually funny that you say Ray Lewis. I don't know why. I was looking at like just because the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl again. I was looking at like past Super Bowls, and it had a list of who the MVP was and the reason that they won it. And Ray Lewis won MVP of the Super Bowl, and the reason was led a dominant Ravens defense, and it was the only one that wasn't like
Was
stats
that
based.
13?
Yeah, it was because of his leadership. No, I
Yeah.
think Joe Flacco won that one. It was a
So it was-
2000s
okay.
one. Yeah.
We're gonna
But
have Dalton
anyways,
and Logan are gonna drop.
I don't know. The guys were leaders. They got
football
people hyped
podcast
before the
soon.
game. They not only got people hyped with their words, but with their fucking actions too. I mean, I think it would be great to dive into their stories and hear like what motivated them to be the people that they were on the field and off the field.
Dude, hell yeah, for Dalton coming out left field over here.
Dude,
Drake,
I
you got
I
a lot
like
to
it.
lead up to.
I was
You wanna
gonna.
give me one of them ice cube.
I am
bud?
also going on the athlete route. Is Jeremy McGrath? He was a pro motocross racer, so he led motocross into a different realm of what could actually be accomplished in motocross.
Thomas is cheesing ear to ear over there.
All of us, we all grew up watching him since we could even ride. So 3 maybe is when we started watching him. Around then,
If I grew up watching VHS tapes, our dad put TVs in our rooms that we didn't have cable on them, but they had the VHS players on the bottom that
Add on
we had Supercross recordings of
like from the TV. You recorded.
oh
on
yeah,
the
dad would
TV.
record them, and then we would sit there and that's what we watched when we went to
every
bed.
moto, and then he's like, he would sit there and break him down with us.
Yeah, that's how we
And-
went to bed. Most kids get like a bedtime story. We got
No
breakdowns
Scooby-Doo.
of what he was
No
doing.
Scooby Doo, huh?
No Scooby Doo.
Damn.
But how he kind of changed the format of motocross, and then he became one of the greatest of all time. I want to say it was 2 years ago. Dane actually got me a cameo of Jeremy
Oh, yeah.
McGrath wishing
Yeah,
me
that's
happy
cool.
birthday. It's pretty sick.
I think your dad was more excited about it.
I was more excited.
He definitely
I said that to Dad. He's like, "Oh my god, how did you get this?" Like, Dad literally thought like
Didn't know
flew
what
out to
cameo
Cali
was.
to get it. or
Yeah,
something.
no idea what a cameo was.
No.
Zero clue.
But it was it's pretty cool. If I could have someone to actually pick their brain on how they actually still are involved with the sport, because a lot of sports people become pro and then they fall off the map. He is still involved in almost most of the new bikes coming out. He's still a face in the community, which if I could see how he did that, I would love to know how he's still involved. So that'd be my pick.
You know what? Respectable question there, Dave.
Yeah.
That was
Job,
good.
Dan. Oh yeah,
Do you
Dave.
think Thomas
You look
is
like
gonna
Ray
be able to
Lewis over
follow
there.
that?
I think Thomas has
I
one.
probably did more than 10 book reports in my childhood on Jeremy McGrath's biography.
Did you read his
Teacher's like,
book?
who the hell is that guy?
I have 2 of his books. The same book, just 2 of them.
Just every year, just
Thomas
redo
wrote
it.
one of them. All right. what
I
you
do
got,
have a
bud?
question also.
He wrote it. Down.
Mine's about hiring and growth. What situation, you guys did touch on it a little bit, but the situation MMG was in each time you decided to add another person or 2. Part 2 would be, why were they the perfect person, and how did MMG evolve with the hiring of each one?
That's a
Very-
good.
That sounds like it's for
You know,
you, Dane.
where I put out there,
question.
like, think before you speak? Tom's been writing that down.
You talking about like with us or
Yeah.
like just with that?
Original 6 up there.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
Long talks.
I'm gonna say that the original basement group, there wasn't a whole lot of thought process in that.
There's a lot on feel.
It was a lot on my just gut feeling of it. Was if I believed in the people that were coming that to join, that I knew that I had to have a group of people to create something. That I knew I couldn't do whatever that vision wasn't going to happen by myself. And as the people started coming, I knew I was placing the right people. And it's funny that most marketing agencies, they want these resumes. They want that somebody went to college for marketing. And we sit down with so many people that go to school in marketing and they're like, we just do case studies on X, Y, and Z. They have no earthly idea how to build out ads. They have no earthly idea how to do really anything that we do, which is actually marketing to ROI positive for clients.
In 2024.
In 2024. You have a marketing teacher out there that's teaching in college, that's teaching marketing from 1998. 2024 is a lot different. The space has changed. This is 21st century. We have these things that everyone carries around now that you can get.
Calculator.
Yeah. But
No, you won't carry one every day.
Yeah. When we were in high school, like you'll never one day have a calculator in your hand. You'll never have a calculator in your hand all the time to do this. Actually, we do. But when I've hired, or when Moss Marketing Group has hired, that in the last 6 months, it has changed to not being just my decision anymore. I will say up till about 6 months ago, it was my decision. It was something that I made that decision normally by myself. And I would normally talk to Madison a little bit about it, but it was something that I think most people that know me know if I have that gut feeling, I'm not going to veer from it. It's always led me where I was supposed to go in life, and I know it's always going to take me where I'm supposed to go. So up to that point, it was just, if it said yes somewhere inside here, that's what we're going with. And in the last 6 or so months, I've started looking at people around me to say, hey, as this scales and it's scaling really quickly, there's going to be more input, because when it used to be where Logan and I are drinking in the garage every single weekend and having a great time, and he's like, bro, when you're ready to hire Nick's, like, I'm here. Like, I'm your guy. I'm like, you're the guy.
I'm hanging out with Logan. He's like, bro. I'm like, and I'm in Dane's ear. I'm like, bro, you know, like Logan's ready whenever we're ready.
But it was just a completely different thing, that we weren't looking at that multiplier that fast. And now when we are looking at that multiplier that fast, I really don't give a shit about resumes. I really don't. Like, it's something that there's character of who people are. And that is what I care about. That it was one of those things that Thomas, you and I messaged on Instagram before ever coming to MMG. And it was something, the first thing you was like, I have no marketing experience. I literally didn't give a shit. I understand the type of person you are. I understand the work ethic that you bring to the table. That is something that you can't teach someone. To where it's too many people hire on some skill set that somebody doesn't have the true characteristics. And I'm rereading books right now that I'm rereading a book called Traction, and it talks about your leadership and your core values. And those core values, you have to hire by those, and you have to fire by those. A lot of times those aren't things that you can teach someone.
We also learned a lot on some hiccups along the way, and that allowed us to put systems in place that could have caught us a few years from now, and it could have been detrimental to the company. But we were able to catch them early, so now those systems are put in place. So we do take a little extra precaution on as a business whole to protect the employee, protect the employer, everything. But that wasn't something like, we all knew each other. We all were super close with each other. But moving forward, we are able to implement that so it benefits everyone.
Yeah. So I would say just really hire. I want to hire on work ethic. That is something I live and die by. And it's something that I want team players. I want people that see the greater good of everything, that aren't one dimensional on the way that they think. So I think that the people sitting here are the poster of what MMG is supposed to look like. That this is a group here that I talk with all the time about leading from the front and leading by example of the way that we're supposed to be. And that will always, as MMG grows and it becomes something that we always envisioned, there's always going to need to be more leaders, and there's always going to be more people taking those forefront seats to more and more and more. But I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to slow down. So it's finding those people that have that work ethic that drive the whole entire ship forward.
Good question.
Very thought out.
Very thought
I
out.
like it. Do we got?
Oh,
We got a non-MMG employee asking a question.
Is she gonna call out Thomas on a podcast?
Put Thomas on the hot seat for not showing up
He
to
said
work
there's a
out
good
yesterday
chance.
morning.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so kind of going on that same idea, MMG pushes the idea of visualization. As a person who actually created this, what did you visualize originally?
Ooh.
That was a good question.
Did Thomas give you his phone?
So, so I'll say in the beginning, the vision of MMG was, it's always been grand. It's always been huge.
I think that was decided within the first few months I came on.
Oh, the right out the gate, it was, I've never wanted to do something half-assed. I never wanted to do something that was just okay. Like, as a competitor, I want to be the best in the space of everything that I do. Towards out the gate, I always had this grand vision. I definitely didn't have a roadmap of how to get there. So as it kind of transpired, I'm going to say I was sitting at the starting line with absolutely zero clue of what was going to happen. But all that did happen was every single day when I faced that man in the mirror, I knew that I could do it. And it was, I knew that no matter what happened, I was capable of making it happen. So it was having that the visualization just keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's because more and more multipliers come to the space. That more and more multipliers are coming to what the culture is of MMG. That there's so many people out there that are like, you're building a cult-like following. I'm like 100%. That's what I want. I want people that are bought in on the vision of what this is supposed to be. Because if they do buy in, if people are playing 5 moves ahead, then this is the move for them. People that play 1 move ahead, this is not the move for them. To where it's, the vision has changed a little bit, but it keeps getting bigger. It's like, as it keeps progressing, I keep thinking more and more that, like, in the beginning, I'm like, it can happen, but there's that little bitty doubt way back in the back that's like, what if this one thing doesn't go right?
And do you think this is something like you practice daily?
I'm going to say I'm pretty weird when it comes to that. That I'm going to say probably one of the most valuable moments I have every single day is the moment with myself every morning in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just cross that time and they sit there, they brush their teeth, they do whatever, they get ready, they walk right out the door. That is a moment every single day I slow down. That's probably the slowest moment of my day. That point in my day, I slow down and I say, is this happening? Are you the guy? And it's like when you start doing that, it's, I don't know, I think things change. And it's, I don't know, I think at episode 100 here, I mean, I'm going to say we're in a vastly different spot than we were at episode 1.
Things have changed a lot in 100 episodes.
I think it goes hand in hand with the hiring question. Like, it evolves as you go on. Like, at the time of hiring, Dre, that was the hardest thing that Dan had done. At the time of hiring Dalton, that was the hardest thing that he had done. Same with me. But it just progressively kept getting like sooner and sooner and easier to take on those challenges and just to roll with it. And it's the same thing with like the visualization. I would say in the beginning, it was more like setting goals, and then we would hit those goals and we're like, what's next? And it would just be this continual like snowballing effect of, okay, think bigger. And it's almost like you have to keep telling yourself like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, I watched videos online. I watched all these different things that they're like, these were the kind of numbers that were put in my head. So like I had this like 10-year goal of what Moss Marketing Group was supposed to be. I had this 5-year goal. I'm like, that's what you do. You write it down, you put these goals out there. And it was like month 10, I hit the 5-year goal. I hadn't figured out what the multiplier of people looked like and multiplier of manpower. All I had figured out, that 10-year goal was what an hour of Dane's time looked like multiplied to 10 years. To where it's like, when you do that, And that was just me not understanding. To where after I started understanding that now with 15 to 20 people, we move a lot faster than Dane did by himself in a bedroom. And guess what? Now there's people in every single different forefront of the company that do things way better than I do. That people are experts in each space that can multiply once again. If it takes me an hour to do something, there's somebody that does it that can do it in 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So the multipliers, I didn't understand how that all worked. And as I've progressed, I've understood that. And that's why I've worked with this group here on understanding that. And then I will work with another group to understand that, to keep multiplying down. So, great questions from over there. I feel like they've been working on those too.
I know. Jack's ready.
Jack's ready.
I missed this spreadsheet that got sent to everyone.
You didn't send me these questions before.
So I know that everybody here is like crazy about going to the gym in the morning and trying to get up, but what else drives you guys to get up and just push through it, even though if you have like a rough day? Just what pushes you guys to keep going?
Ooh. I will actually start this one.
Oh, drive.
Whoa. I will say what pushes me is I enjoy coming home and I actually enjoy work. So what pushes me is I am very fortunate I get to come work with my brother every day, which not very many people can say that. I was also, when I took my first job, I got to work with my dad. Very fortunate. Now he's just a block away. But what drives me is I get to go to work and I get to come home to a nice house and someone waiting for me. So that I will
Curfew of trade.
Not what I mean.
I thought he was about to be really sweet there.
I thought that was
I was waiting for Samantha to blush.
No blush from back there.
I get to come home to a nice home. I get to go to work, and I even told Dane, it was probably 3 weeks ago, I'm actually excited to go to work, which a lot of people dread Mondays, like a ton of people. I actually look forward to Monday because I'm like, I get to go in, I get to hang out with you six, I get to hang out with all of you guys, and we BS a lot of the time when we should be working. But it's something I look forward to, and I will say that drives me to get up every morning. Do I miss the gym sometimes? I'm getting better. One day at a time. Oh, but that's what I would say drives me, is I enjoy work and I enjoy coming home. So that drives me each day to get up and do what I do.
I would say just chasing your potential. Like there's levels to everything, whether it's relationships, finances, fitness, whatever it is, there's a different level that you can get to. And that progression causes a lot of your happiness. As you, too many people get caught looking forward about where they want to go. But then if you take the time to look back at how far you came, you're going to stay a lot more motivated.
Like that. I don't know. I feel like I have a couple different ones. Like,
I'm still trying to decide.
I was trying to decide which one I want to go after.
All right.
But I'll hit him.
I was gonna say,
dude, skip.
We can give you more time.
And pass.
No, one of the things that drives me when I get up in the morning, that, I mean, it probably sounds super weird to people, but I literally try to like picture myself hundreds of years before. Like, are you a competitor in the arena? Like, once again, we'll come in the office. If you guys come in the office, you come in early. I'm probably listening to Viking war music. Like, it is something that I look at every single day. Like, am I a competitor in the space? Like, are you that person? And it's like, I look at that. If you take most people today and you put them back those hundreds and hundreds of years before, they're not fucking competing. They're not even close to being a competitor. Towards like, I look at that as that forefront of all these easy things that we have, the hot water we have every day, the food is just at our disposal everywhere we want, the roofs over our head, like all the things that we take for granted every single day. There was people at one time that strive to have those things. Towards like, that is something I think about over and over and over and over. That's on one forefront. The next forefront is when I first met Madison almost 11 years ago, I told her like right out the gate, I was like, I promise you I'll give you a life that girls dream of. I was like, no matter what. I was like, I promise you. And this is at a point when Dane had fucking nothing. We rode around on a scooter because I couldn't put gas in my truck. And we rode everywhere on the scooter in the freezing cold weather. It didn't matter. But it was like, I told her, I was like, I promise you one day, there's a side of something that I go, everything that someone dreams of in life, you will have. And I was like, that is one thing I can promise you. And it's like, I get up every day that it's like, on every forefront of life, I have to be that person. And I also have to be that leader to everyone that stands with me. I can't sit there and be hypocritical to say, hey, you should go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. I know I don't. You should do that. You should put stories up every day on Instagram. I know I don't. You should though. Like all these things that people are so hypocritical in today's world about doing that they can't actually do. To where it's like, there are multiple different facets of this, but it's like, those are a couple of them that I just ring really home on. I'm going to say those are mine. I don't want to go too far into it.
It is hard to narrow it down to one.
It is.
I have a few as well. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. But I mean, the first one for me lately, especially, has been trying to lead by example, lead from the front. Like, just doing the things that I feel like we expect people to do, and just doing the things that winners do day in and day out. And a lot of that leads up to like the same thing as Ricky said, really chasing my own potential and doing it for like, there's people looking up to every single one of us in our lives. They might not be right now, but they might be in the future. And you're building that version of yourself that they're going to see when they meet you. So you don't even think about it. Like your future kids, you're building the person that they're going to see when they look in your eyes right now. So it's just like leaving a legacy for me is a big thing too. Like being that person in my family that just takes it to another level. Those are some of mine. And then, I mean, not gonna lie too, like the materialistic stuff, even a little bit, like, I want to have a nice house. I want to drive a nice car. Like, I want to be able to do what I want to do in my life. And you've got to work for that stuff. So.
Oh man. I think I have a few that I can kind of lump into one, but I think the number one thing is I am a part of a very small percentage that is fortunate enough to work with their significant other. Not only get to go to work,
not desperate.
Not only getting to go to work with your significant other every day, but also I feel like it's an anomaly to be able to work well side by side with your significant other. We hear it all the time, like, I don't know how you work with your husband. Like, I would kill him if I worked with my husband.
I will say you guys have gotten better. I think you guys have gotten to a good point.
Yeah. So that is something that I'm very fortunate of. I can't even imagine like going into a different field where I didn't go to work with him every single day. Another one would probably be, I'm from a very small town, and all my family still lives there. And when we do go back, it's always refreshing and good to hear because everyone comes up to us and is always like, you guys look like you guys are doing awesome. Like everything I see on social media, like you guys are just killing it. So that is like, that hits home a lot, like knowing that it was the right decision, obviously, to leave home and we're doing the right thing. So.
You're a peacock. We gotta let you fly.
I think we should start just doing Q&As all the time. I like this.
Now it is like a press conference.
I know. Dalton, you played a great game today, bud.
Yeah, another tough question. Thank you, Dad. I think my first thought was legacy, and I think I've said this before. Some of you guys out here might not have heard this because I don't think you were around then, but just leaving a legacy that your family be proud of. I mean, your family now and your future family, like, there's a point in time where all of us will never be here, and you would like to think that you left the best, legacy or parts of you behind for other people to follow behind. So, that's definitely a huge thing for me. I definitely want to, if probably no one will ever write a biography about me, but if they do, I would like to think it would be a positive thing and like, hey, this is the impact that he left on this earth. Like, And I don't think I've hit my full potential yet. Not even fucking close. So I just think growing every day, getting up. The gym for me, I mean, I'm not on there every morning, so I can't, you know. I'm in mountains and valleys with that thing. So. But I think it's important. I think it's important to just be the best version of you that you can every day, and leave the best legacy for everyone around you.
Hey, I'll write a biography about you, buddy.
Yeah,
if you could,
we'll write 2 of them actually.
If you could,
we'll throw it into ChatGPT.
So you know one of the craziest.
Your heart, buddy.
You know one of the craziest things. It took me like 40 to 50 episodes into the podcast before I ever even thought about this. But when I sat there and I think about like our grandpa that we never even got to meet. And I think about this, like these future generations that come, that one day we're going to have kids. And they're going to get a look back at these. They're going to get a look back at these points. So like we're all going to have kids one day. And there's one day that we will all be gone. That's 100% guarantee. But these will still stay.
Yeah.
And it's like, think about that grandparent that you have. That if you could have had an hour-long video of that person talking and having that conversation with their friends and the people that they worked with. Now think about having hundreds of them. Mm-hmm. That was like such a like surreal like moment that I didn't even think about until like 40, 50 podcasts in. That one day.
I remember the first time you said that, I think.
Yeah. And it was like, I think it was when we were like, we got into the office and we're like progressing and I was like, it hit me that one day, like we're going to record these forever. And there's one day that I'm going to be gone. Dre's going to be gone. Ricky's going to be gone. Logan, Lauren, Dalton. We're going to have kids that are living on those names. And they're going to go back and be like, I got podcasts of all of my parents.
They were like, all degenerates.
They sat there and drank in the basement in this dude's house. But no, I just think that the legacy it's cool. Like when you think about that, you don't need an autobiography or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I'm just.
But,
all right. Well, we'll write you one if you want.
We'll write you one if you want.
Yeah. If I have one wrote about me, I would want it to be in a positive way, and I want people.
Yeah. Do you want us to tell them about your golf game?
In a positive light. Well, it depends on which
year. What are we bringing the man's golf game?
Year of Dalton.
Come on.
I
got you.
Hold on. What year are we talking about?
What year are we talking about?
Yeah, what year of golf are we talking about?
We're going to disregard that question.
So I guess this kind of piggybacks off of that. And it's not really a question. It's more so kind of what you guys are talking about, legacy. And kind of seeing it from where you started, just from TDR, from like the first videos that you ever did at TDR to where you are now. And even seeing this table, I remember seeing it at Liberty Fall Fest. Like just the evolution of everything. And I think it's something where people don't really give flowers while people are around. They wait till, like you said, they're gone forever. So it's dope to, and it weirdly enough, dude, I'm getting fucking emotional. Like this is weird. Like I'm getting emotional just like from where you started to where you are now, episode 100. And then to look back on this, like when you hit episode 200, 300, it's like, holy crap. So damn, why am I getting emotional? Just like a huge prop to what you've done, like where you've gotten to and where you're going. And why the fuck am I about to like, damn, dude. It's just cool. It's really cool to see. Mm-hmm. So not a question, more so just dope.
But also what a lot of people don't know, which I sat in the automotive space for a long time, and I sold Jaime 2 trucks in the auto space. And I remember selling him his black F-150 first.
Were they sick?
They were both pretty cool. Yeah.
How do you think Dan got this house?
Yeah. I'm still eating steaks off those trucks, bro.
Jaime paid for the cherries sitting in.
but
I was buried in those things.
No, so I remember selling Jaime his first black F-150, and he had Prevail. And it was one of those things that like I had the money, I had all these things in the car business, but I saw what like Jaime was doing and I was so like in awe of it. And it was so cool what he was doing. He was doing these videos that I'm going to kind of save the whole story for on some of these other people that were involved in it. But it was like Jaime was the first one that kind of opened my mind to like, what if we did this in the car space? I was like, the car space could use this. And like, he was thinking outside the box, outside of Kansas City. He was thinking coastal on what they were doing. And I started thinking about doing these videos. And I'm like, hey, bro, I want to do these videos. He gets me connections with some guy, blah, blah, blah. Once again, I'm going to save all that. But
great story.
It was just one of those things that like, when Jaime became a part of MMG, it wasn't like, it wasn't some new like relationship. It wasn't something new that I saw. It was just something that like we had talked multiple times way before that I told him, I'm like, there's some point in time that these stars all align and this works. Mm-hmm. I go, I don't know when it is, but it's going to. And then the most astronomical fucking thing on the whole entire planet happened, that when they start, Ricky and Lauren like, oh yeah, we know Jaime. He's from Clay Center, Kansas. I'm like, there's like 8 people from Clay Center, Kansas.
Like we went to middle school together.
But it was just like, it's so crazy how small the world is, and that there like was the first thing that sparked the littlest part that made me see the car business different, that then sparked to everyone that I talked to that saw that we were doing something different. Then I'm like, why is this not being taken to the masses? That then all of a sudden, then we multiply it out, and now all of a sudden we're here. Mm-hmm. Like it's something you look at, just stars align, the right things. I live by good things happen to good people. Everyone's exactly where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that I sold Jaime his first black F-150. And then I was involved in the sale of his silver F-150. Big F-150 guy. First one was XLT. He stepped up to the Lariat. I know the trucks. Like I could draw them out for you exactly. The same wheels. I know what he had on both of the trucks. But it was like I was very invested in those car deals because I was invested in Jaime. Mm-hmm. But it was like one of those things that the relationship never stopped at those car deals. And it's like, it continued to progress, and that is what building a real network looks like. And that is what is having the right people in your corner can transpire into. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, beyond thankful that you came in to buy that black F-150. Put us right here where we're at. Mm-hmm. But
Dan and Logan are also thankful for those shorts from last Fit Check Friday.
Oh, yeah.
I will say that Fit Check Friday, I thought I was going to win.
They're thankful.
But Ricky had no fit.
Hey. Lots of votes, though.
We got no questions from the back group. Wow.
Oh, I'm not going to peek.
Dude, I thought Madison would at least have
I thought Madison would have a question. I thought Samantha would have a question. Katie, for sure.
She said we've been going.
Should we wait for Dalton to get back?
Nah, go for it.
All right, last question.
We'll fill them in.
If everybody in the office were going to race each other, who would win and who would get last?
Like a foot race? We've had this conversation.
Are we talking foot race?
Are we just naming first and last, not the in-between?
Yeah.
I edit these.
I do.
All placement?
What's the distance? What's the distance? 100 yards or like?
I don't care the distance either.
A 5K?
5K? I'm not.
That just changed completely.
Thomas is probably one in the 5K.
5K, yeah. I'm Dustin 90% of the office.
Who's after Thomas?
Hey, I did. Samantha. No, hold on here.
Can we get a close up of Samantha in the back?
Can we get a zoom in of Samantha? Hey,
hold on.
She knows I'm a good 5K runner.
We did run a 5K, and I think I crossed the line.
It was only like 2 miles.
Yeah, because
I walked it.
It was not a true 5K.
Hey, I had 3 yards of beer before I did that. I didn't even know I was running.
I could not believe you didn't throw it.
Impressive.
I showed up, and they're like, "You're running."
Yeah.
100 yards.
100 yard dash.
100 yards.
Ricky's
first and last.
winning.
Me.
All right, Dre, go.
100 yards.
First and last.
Whoa. What a
So
question.
I will say, when we were discussing this earlier, I think I would win a 40. I think it'd be between me and Ricky.
You're not winning a 40.
I
promise.
No, 100 yards. I think it might be Logan because of his legs.
I promise.
He's got a really long
I'm putting my money on Thomas.
I'll race Ricky.
No, not Thomas.
No.
No. I'm taking my money off Thomas.
Last, dude, this feels bad. I know they're new, but Mike. I think you might get dusted.
We're talking about the 40-yard dash, right?
All right,
100 yards.
Ricky.
100-yard dash.
Way to call out the old guy.
I know what to do, but
Ricky's winning.
I'm good as long as it's not against Oakley. Then I'm good.
oh, we're adding
Yeah,
dogs.
last time Dalton raced,
I'm
hopefully he
good.
pulled a hamstring.
Yeah, sure did.
In case you're wondering.
Sure fucking did.
I think it's me or Ricky in a 100-yard dash. I don't think there's a
who's
question
last?
about it.
Well, just specifically speaking, like or specs,
Don't look at
you
me.
should win.
Wait,
Yeah.
With your legs, you should win.
Wait, this is
You're
coming
much
out
closer
Monday.
to Usain Bolt than I am.
If this is coming out Monday, we could probably snip a little piece of us actually doing this.
Hey, do we
I don't
remember when
know how to do that.
Eddie raced a fucking smart car
we are.
in the parking lot of TDR?
Did he beat it?
think
I
he
do
did.
remember.
I think he did.
I remember Josh racing a lot of cars. But
No, I think Eddie did beat a smart car in a 40.
it does take about a good 6 seconds till it takes off. So, I'm gonna go with first place. I'm gonna go Ricky. I mean, you're welcome.
Thanks.
I mean, I'm definitely top 3.
I'm going last place.
Don't do it.
I'm thinking Kane or Jack.
Yeah. I agree. Sorry, Jack. I was going to say you.
I'm not very fast.
I mean, I don't have wheels
You
at
have
40,
to
but I
give
have
one.
wheels at 100.
Hey, you have to give one. I gave one. You
All
gotta
right,
give
Caden.
one.
My,
What a question, man.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go Bree. I think Bree gets last.
There you go.
That's perfect. That's why I picked her.
Easy target.
Does Bree have a question? Does Bree's question make sense?
No, she has to add a question, actually.
No question.
Did you answer?
She gets tired going up the stairs to the office.
True.
All right, so Bree's last.
She doesn't.
Wait,
Logan?
Ricky, did you answer?
Are we all giving answers?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Oh, okay. So I for sure win the 100. And although my last race I did lose. Our buddy Graham. It was on the beach in Antigua. I was so pumped for it. I talked tons of smack. I was like, I'm gonna smoke him. He's old. It'll be fine. And we raced.
Have you seen Graham?
Yeah, he's a good shape, but I'm ahead of him like the whole way. I think I got him on the start. I think I went a little early, but it's like probably 80 yards.
So you
And
cheated.
this dude, yeah, but I still would have beat him. This dude dives out at the very last second, though, completely stretched out, nipple ring and all, slides across the sand. He beat me.
I don't
But
know
it
how
was
he did.
Just how bad did you really
To the
want it?
wire.
Wait, did you?
Evidently not as much as
Did he rip his nipple?
I don't know how he
Did
didn't
you
rip
say
the
you
nipple
would have
ring.
won when you took off first and he still beat you?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I would have had it.
Yeah. I couldn't hear him, and I was like, "There's no way it's close."
Yeah.
He really surprised me. Last place in the office, though.
Dude, we're taking digs.
It's gonna be weird when there's just like a few random cuts in
Dude,
the
it's gonna be
podcast.
weird. It's gonna be weird when
Kane just cuts that out, puts like AI voice in. Devin. Wow, everything's Devin slow.
Yeah, I think it's Mike. I think Mike's.
I know it's easy to pick on the old guys.
Dude,
I
I
just
got
Mike-
Mike once. I'd probably smoke probably half these people. It's out there.
dude,
I wasn't gonna put Mike on the hot seat.
Hey,
I think Thursday or Friday.
No, I'm
I think
already.
we
I'm
go
down.
hit the
No,
track.
no,
Are we
I'll
doing
answer
cleats
right
or
now.
track?
I wasn't here for the
I want
question,
cleats
but I
on football
assume it
field.
was
yeah.
who's the fastest
I don't
and
have
slowest
cleats.
100.
Yeah.
You know,
Good
I wanna see
context clues.
I want to see fucking Logan and Ricky.
I know. Same.
I want to see him at Parco South Football Field.
What a strange
overlooking
place
downtown.
to organize that, but whatever.
We're overlooking
Hype
not on the
videos.
football field, but
Nowhere
we're driving
else,
up,
just Park Hill South.
driving up, overlooking downtown. That's where we work. And I want to see you guys do a 100-yard dash on the field.
I think it's gonna be
Behind the
office
school.
wide though.
Yeah. I just want to smoke Caden by 50 yards. I want to score twice.
Everyone knows how wide a football field.
All I know is I'm not first and I'm not last.
Same.
I think I'm somewhere mid-pack.
Wait. So who's losing?
What did I do to this?
You didn't actually give a winner or a loser.
You didn't give either or. You said you just want to see these two race.
But if you have to pick a winner,
I didn't get the chance to because you guys all.
Oh, we all. My bad. We're at Park Hill South now. Perfect scenery. It's all set.
I mean,
sunset.
Best high school fucking view in the city. Definitely. Definitely.
What a biased opinion, but whatever.
Well, Kearney, you look at the back of a neighborhood.
So. They just want to stay champions.
Yeah, they're champions, but whatever.
That's fair.
We had
to forfeit like 7 of our games.
Who wins? These two. I'm not talking Park Hill South. Who wins between these two?
Honestly, I don't know. I'll go with the easy way out. Just say Bree because she doesn't work out and she.
You think Bree's gonna?
We didn't pick a winner first. We're at the loser side.
You literally just asked me who's gonna lose.
That is true. You did ask that first.
Who's gonna win and who's gonna lose?
I said it. There's gonna be a race between Ricky and Logan.
Who wins?
That's who's gonna win. Between Ricky and Logan. I need to see it.
That's such a democratic answer.
You gotta pick one of them.
No, I don't know.
So if two people win for president, we say, hey, you know what? Both you guys win.
I'm about facts.
Okay, Lauren.
Lauren, we're back on to you.
Let's see the facts.
She's gonna vote for Ricky.
I'm gonna say Ricky's winning the 100 for sure. Losing.
Pick me.
Dalton's quads are losing.
A lot of weight to keep around.
So that's definitely a part of it. I think whoever loses goes out because they pull a hamstring, they tear an Achilles or something. That person's going down.
Put me at both.
Ricky could be first or last.
I think whoever loses is going out with an injury for sure.
Damn.
Wow.
Well, you got to pick one.
Okay, Dalton.
Who's got the weakest Achilles in here?
You sit behind desks all day.
Yeah, we do have desk jobs.
Oh God, I don't know.
Yeah, call them out.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to throw someone under the bus and then back over him.
I do have bad knees.
Well, Caden's been flattened 8 times, so just add a 9.
just make sure a tank runs over.
Yeah.
You know what?
Caden's gonna be out there.
No, I've seen Jaime run.
Jaime, I don't know. If
Jaime's fast.
When was
the last time you saw Jaime run?
Jaime's the sleeper.
In 8th grade.
Is Jaime on the skis out there or what?
Just a few years
Jaime
ago.
Jaime was super fucking fast.
Are you on skis on the track or what?
Yeah.
Dude, you know what? I bet Jaime comes out left field and blows everyone's doors off. Wins the whole. He says that. He low key plays shit down so far. He's like,
sprint.
He's like, hey, I just like threw this video edit together. It's pretty trash. He sits over, you're like, whoa,
dude. I'll be real. Like I haven't said much. I'm fighting for second and third.
Yeah,
I know that for sure. Ricky's got first, but I'm fighting for second.
Jaime's fast.
Ooh,
I'm punching Ricky right in the back of his leg.
Yeah, get him. So
if you're able to catch him.
We all need to warm up for a
roll down
while.
and shoot. Whack.
I think we're losing the rails on this.
Yeah. We're out.
Wait. I think Logan had to answer. Yeah.
This is like Todd's
Oh yeah.
deal. I already answered, but I said, well, did I? I don't know.
You said kids last.
Yeah. I mean, I got to be confident in myself. I'm going to win this thing. So, I really think, I'm sorry, Jack. I think that you're coming in last.
So, there's a decent chance that he does trip and does not.
I mean, dude, he's got the biggest feet. I mean, they're a liability.
Yeah.
If he keeps it upright.
All right. So all right. So I think that so questions. I mean, we're kind of all over the place, but 100 episodes in, this is something that if we would have imagined building anything or doing anything like this 100 episodes ago, and you said even presented this to this group sitting here, we'd be like, that's the worst idea you've ever came up with. And now we sit here doing something that this is so much fun. it's so much fun having everyone involved. Just having the whole thing go to where it's went is, I mean, it's exactly where it's supposed to be. It's something that we have business owners on week over week. We have everything in Moss Marketing Group going in the right direction, from the people to podcasts to taco reviews to fit checks to everything else that's happening. And people listen to this week over week. There's business owners out there that look for this. And we give them the insight from other business owners that have been through it, that get them through those hard times, that show them that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that it's not, that when you look at that and then you think that the fight is over, that's when the fight just begins. And every entrepreneur, every person somewhere in a company runs into that wall. People run into that wall in life all the time. So I look at it as anyone that's out there that's running into that wall, go back and listen to some of these podcasts. Go back and listen to these people that overcame all these obstacles to get to where they're at now. That anytime that you think it's hard, that's what you were built for. You were built to overcome those problems. You were built to solve those problems. You were built to be someone different. And the only thing that ever stops you from doing that is quitting. So as long as you don't quit and you keep pressing forward, you can have a podcast that has 100 episodes. And I promise you there was a lot of times I wanted to quit. And I'm talking a lot more than just the podcast. I'm talking, this whole thing has put me up against walls and put me up against the ropes on points that it made me doubt myself. And I hate to ever say that because I'm the person that always leads from the front, that I say never doubt yourself, never do any of those things. But it puts you up against the ropes and it makes you reevaluate yourself. It puts you in front of that mirror to question yourself. To really look at, are you built to do this? And when you tell yourself you are built to do that, I'm telling you that you can do anything that you want to do. And I sit here 100 episodes ago with 4 of us sitting on a couch, Ricky sitting on that audio board. That's not that one. It's one at the office. But sitting on an audio board, sitting, testing all these audios, trying to figure out, and there was no one in this basement. And we thought it was the hardest thing we were ever going to take on. And I sit here today with not even everyone sitting here, with a room full of people that has transpired into something so different that I look at episode 200, we're not going to be able to do it in here. Not even close. At episode 200, we're going to have to do it in an auditorium. That we are going to do it on a stage that is so different. And that is what I believe that the M3 podcast turns into one day. Is sitting in front of an auditorium of people that bring business owners to that platform week over week over week that people want to be a part of. And I cannot thank every single person in this room enough. That every single person that's sitting down here right now has led to where this has been. And it was something that started off as a vision of one that has turned into a vision of a lot. And I thank you, all around you. This is the episode 100. We did it.
Cheers. Got my water.
Need a cheers to that.
Here's to getting 200.
Thank you for tuning in to the 100th episode.
That's M3 Podcast. See you again next week.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.